Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time to join with us. We really appreciate your time. So we want to start with a simple polling questions to get to know you a little better. So how much you know about data science, how much you know about artificial intelligence, and how much you know about the industry. So we're going to start with a list of polling questions. I believe there are about 7 questions. So let's start the first one. Okay, I'm sure some of you or most of you may have heard about artificial intelligence. So the first question, what we wanted to understand, in what form artificial intelligence applied in business or industry, correct? In the form of data science or intelligent automation or digital transformation, correct? So we just wanted to understand, are all of the above, none of the above. So what's your thoughts? So looks like majority of them are going all of them above. That's right, correct? So that's right. So artificial intelligence, correct? There is too many different definitions. People talk about this and that. But when it comes to how does it work or how does it apply in industry, it's either in the form of a data science or an intelligent automation or digital transformation. So next question. Monica, can you go to the next question? All right, so the second question, data science enables the enterprise to implement which of the following solutions, correct? Using data science, what can we do, correct? Using data science, what can we do? So can we build predictive analytics? Can we build, look for insights and data, or go for an advanced analytics, or do some root cause analytics, or none of the above, correct? So the answer is very much you all got it, correct? So it depends on what problem you're trying to solve. It's not only predictive analytics, that just kind of a perception people has. So basically, data science is for looking insights at the deepest level, correct? So we will talk more in detail later. And next question, Monica. All right, which are the following top skills to become a data scientist, correct? So I'm just asking you more from an industry perspective, correct? So if you want to be an industry expert, so which are the skills that most of the skills that you may have to have, correct? Say in what order it's going to have. I think you all got it, okay? So you have to truly have data engineering skills, that in my mind most critical, business skills most critical, and also some extent computing skills, how do you write programs and compute and all those things is required. I wouldn't say no need for an academic skills, such as understanding about statistics, mathematics, it's required, but it's not the most dominant skills. A lot of people think it that way, but I don't think that's true, right? All right, next question. Sure. From an enterprise perspective, a data scientist is expected to perform which of the following data engineering tasks, okay? So let's say you're going to join in a company like Kaiser, you're going to be the data scientist. So if you are doing data scientist, out of all the tasks that what is listed here, which task as a data engineer, correct? Not only data scientist, what kind of data engineering tasks you'll be performing? So number one, some of them you're talking about model validation. I don't know whether I go for a model. As a data engineer, you may not do model validation, correct? You do data validation, correct? So model validation may not be a primary focus for you as a data engineer. So ultimate goal as a data engineer, make the data available. How do you make the data available? That's what data provisioning, okay? So to do that, you have to start from data collection, data preparation, integration, and make the data available, which is data provisioning, all right? That's fine, go to the next question. Okay, so one thing that I want to clearly highlight, there could be hundreds of thousands of data science program out there. I can tell this is the first program we are taking to the next level. Okay? This is the first program we are taking to the next level. And that was the reason behind why we are asking all this question. Which of the following technologies used to develop data pipeline? So when I say data pipeline, we are building a data science. Let's say I'm trying to run a predictive model, which predicts certain aspects to customer behavior or behavioral pattern of a patient. Okay? So out of all the technology, which technology that you think that you'll be using to build data pipeline? Okay, so I think you got very much everything. Okay, so Kafka, Spark, Docker, Kubernetes, Kubeflow. I don't know whether I need Kubeflow. Kubeflow is for model pipeline. You may not need for data pipeline, but there's nothing wrong in it using this one. So in case if there's anything that you want to build a model pipeline, so that's when you use Kubeflow. All other technologies, Kubernetes, Docker, Python libraries like Pandas, NumPy, Spark, and Kafka, it's all required. Okay, so a lot of people think I'm a data scientist, I'm just going to build model, or I'm just going to work on some algorithms. It's just not only that. You do need to have knowledge about all these technologies, and this is how we build data pipeline. So next question. I think this may be the last one. What percentage of mathematics statistics skills are required to implement data science? Okay, solution for a healthcare company, right? So absolutely, I do totally agree on. Okay, so you really don't need deep knowledge about like linear algebra or vector calculus, etc. So you may have to have some basic knowledge. I think that's enough, and that too only when you have like an interest to build your own classifier, or if you want to troubleshoot and understand how the classifier works, and that is basically one we get into more in depth about statistics and mathematics. So I would say 10 to 15% of the your effort or skills are required to go and work in real data science projects. Next one. I think this is the last one. Is the data lake required to implement data science for business? Okay. So I just wanted to know how many of you had a chance to listen about data lake. Okay, so data lake, it's not required, it's optional. Okay, it is not required, it's optional. Okay, so what is data lake? So it's kind of an extension to data warehouse. Data warehouse is more of a subject focused, and this is enterprise focused, right? Across enterprise, I wanted to bring all data together and make the data available. Awesome, you all did wonderful. So now I have some fair good knowledge about how much you know about all these advanced concepts, advanced things, especially how does it work in a real world enterprise, correct? Thank you very much. Monica, thank you. I'm just going to take over from here. All right, so let's move on. So we do have an agenda. Like I said, we don't have to follow the agenda. If there is any question, anything that you want to get an answer, please feel free to bring the questions. We can talk about it and try to address this question. So I'm going to talk about our program overview, and also I'm going to talk about how our program is different. And it's really important for you to understand. Like I said, there is hundreds of thousands of programs out there, and people say, I know I'm the best data scientist. There's nothing like that, right? It's an interdisciplinary study. You cannot simply say I'm the best data scientist. Okay, I know everything on deep learning. I know everything on machine learning. None. Okay, so those are all nice to hear, but there's no such things called I'm the master. I know everything. It's a very quite complex area. It has a lot of things to be learned. So there's nothing there. So I want to make sure actually you understand how our UC programs are completely different than what others are offering. And it's an instructor-led. This is the first instructor-led course. Second, I do wanted to give an idea, like, so how our material content is going to look like. So that's what I want to talk you through about introduction to data science for enterprise. And next, I do want to discuss about what are the different use cases. And these use cases, either I worked myself in industry or I have managed a team or implemented. In some form, I'm involved in all these use cases. Currently, I'm in a project, okay? Not only teaching, I'm also in a project. I am implementing data science as well as artificial intelligence for very large enterprise. So those industry use cases is what I'm talking here actually. And next, you do have to understand, right? This is not just like high level course where you can come and learn and just like get a view. It's more of an in-depth course. It also has a lot of technical components involved. I do want you to understand what are the different technologies that's going to be playing actually, and what kind of employment we can expect in case if you want to be an entrepreneurial. So how do we position yourself? What skills are required? Okay. All right. So those are the things, and we do have some time for like Q&A. And this is about me. Monica already talked about myself. Like so I'm basically like currently teaching this course at the UC. And also I taught the data science course for MIT. So MIT had a program for artificial intelligence for business. It's an executive level course. It's primarily focused on helping executives to understand like in terms of like how you build artificial intelligence business case, how do you implement, what is involved. So I also, as a data scientist for one of the startup company based in Harvard Labs called Experfy. So where we build large-scale data science for enterprise, business, and anything. So this is about me. And again, I'm on LinkedIn. You can Google, you'll get to know more about me. So I don't want to spend too much time on myself. Let's move on. Okay, let's understand how this program has been structured. Right? Let's understand how the program has been structured. So it is really important for you to get to know how this program and what's the unique value proposition. So the program is basically like divided into different pieces, correct? Like parts. So you can see here, correct? So there is the part 1, part 2, part 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So the first one is, it's part of Udacity. It's an honor degree program. So you do have to understand what is the criteria for the honor degree. Second, basics about data science. Then the software engineering, so how does software engineering is going to be used in building data science? Okay? So we do have traditional software engineering, which is basically more of a hard-coded instruction. How do we change that to an advanced level? And how do we use, in some of those new programming skills, advanced, infrastructure, computing power? So how do we use this one? So that's what software engineering is about. Then the next part is data engineering. It's a key critical area. So data engineering is primarily focused on how do you bring the data sets together and make the data available for the data science to work. Okay? The next one is, how do we design and implement solutions? Correct? So we understand the foundation, we understand the software engineering to build data science. We also understand how to bring data sets together, whether it's image, video, voice, text. Then how do we design and implement use cases, industry use cases? Correct? So that is in a design aspects. How do you design a solution? Take a problem statement, design a solution. Correct? So that is more for designing side. The next one is, how do we basically come up with a project and implement those projects? The last part is graduation. So once you completely successfully complete, then you get the honor degree. Okay, so that's a high level view, and this has a kind of a roadmap and approach. How do you want to approach this one? As I said, understand the fundamentals. Second, data science for business. And third, how does it implement in industry? Okay, so next, what are the employment opportunity? And how do you become an entrepreneurial, correct? So that's kind of an approach we want to take this one. And these are some of the key topics that you will get to learn. As I said, the primary focus is not just theory, the concept. We want to connect the concept back to implementation. How do you implement? Use some of the simple use cases, then go advanced, correct? So you start from learning the foundation, then understand how it's used in a business circumstances, like in a company, as we talked about, in a healthcare company, oil and gas company, energy company, how these companies are using data sciences, understand that from the business perspective. Second, how do I implement this one? It's just not only understanding at a business perspective, I do want to go and implement this one, okay? At some basic level could be simple use cases, correct? Whether the customer is going to churn or not, that's a very simple one to implement, correct? Customer churn, customer spending power, how much money a customer can spend, correct? So that's just kind of a simple one. So now I'm getting into predicting a risk score of a patient, okay? So on a scale of 1 to 5, based on the patient's severity of health and illness, where the patient is going to be standing, correct? So I want to run some complex models. So how can I implement this one? So that's the little advanced level implementation. Then we talk about technology. Then we talk about employment, entrepreneurship. So that's just a high level key roadmap, how it is. Only point I would like to make, most cases what we have seen, either an academic or a technology or an industry, we want to connect all of them together, correct? We just don't want to just teach a program just for heck of it. So we do want to bring all the things together. How does academic connect to industry? How does these two enable through technology, correct? So that's the primary goal. All right, so just a key differentiator, okay? This is the point I was trying to say. Like you said, there are many programs out there, okay? There are many programs out there. How does our program is different? Number one, we are partnering with Udacity. Number two, we provide the real world industry problems, correct? Real world industry problem means something that we have done at our clients with the data sets, problem statement, models, everything, correct? In most cases, what you see, people use Excel spreadsheet and talk about okay, oh, this is not working, that's not working, all those things, correct? Why? That's just a learning purpose, correct? But how do we take this to the next level, which is an industry implementation? So that is what our focus actually. Second, by doing that, what happens? You gain on the job skills, okay? On the job skills. So to gain on the job skills, you do have to have some kind of a technology enablement. So we provide all the tools that's required, correct? We work with you, set up some of the tools that's required, and then you can practice yourself, or we can support you to practice all these labs, all the exercise, so that you become hands-on, you can get to learn on the job learning experience. The curriculum itself is driven based on an industry. As I said, if I'm talking about a specific topic, correct? If I'm talking about a specific topic, that topic is driven based on an industry curriculum. Okay, it's driven based on an industry curriculum. So that is one thing I wanted to understand. Okay, and the last point is, correct? There are many people out there. Okay, I'm sure they all talk about data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all the things. But when you give them an industry problem to be solved, okay, I'm not sure whether they have adequate skills. From our side, we have industry experts. I myself, you can Google on me, you'll get to know. You can check my LinkedIn, you'll get to know. So I myself am hands-on subject matter expert. I work on industry projects, correct? Not just only teaching in academic side, I also work in industry projects, correct? So I bring industry view to learning process, okay? In other places, they are lacking for a qualified instructor. They don't have an industry-driven curriculum. They don't have a technology enablement. They fail to bring practical view to problem-solving skills and education more of an information only. So this is how we differentiate. Point one, it's very basically real-world industry-driven. Second, lab infrastructure where you can practice. If you want to learn and understand Qflow, Kubernetes, build a data pipeline, model pipeline, you can get to see that. Second, the curriculum itself. The third is curriculum is driven by an industry. Okay, as we talked about, either it could be oil and gas, energy, or a consumer, any of those industry. The next point is, so having all these things, it brings real industry view to learning process. Okay, so that's the differentiator from our side. I'm sure more to come. Okay, so it's a very comprehensive course, and in a single program, you will get to learn data science, artificial intelligence, data engineering, computing all together. Okay, and as I said, the advanced lab infrastructure technology that is basically may not be used in a learning purpose. We will use them to get you to know more about in-depth on enabling technologies, and real-world use cases, and it's more of a cost-effective model. So coming back to what I really wanted to touch a little bit about how we teach. So I want to give the actual what does enterprise data science means and how do we define this one. Okay, just wanted a quick overview so that you could understand. Again, so this is just to give you an idea how we approach and teach what our content is going to look like. Right? So this is, in my view, it's a mystery. Okay, in my view, it's a mystery. People talk about all the things: artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, intelligent automation, digital transformation. But if you go close to them, ask them a specific question, they don't have a clear answer. Okay, they don't have a clear answer. Right? Let's understand this fundamentally. Where does data science comes into picture? Okay? So I'm sure you all heard about it. Okay, so I have a question here. Can anyone tell what's your understanding about this one? Can anyone tell? You can put in the chat window. Can anyone tell what is your understanding about all the things what you're seeing here right now? Okay? So you're looking at reading, speaking, writing, cooking, sandwich making, driving car, and all those things. So what is your understanding about all the things? Can anyone tell, please? So what is your understanding about all of these things? Any thoughts? No one? Come on. All right. You can put it in your chat window. So if you have any anything to share, please put it in the chat window. All right. So these are all nothing but an intelligence. Okay, these are all nothing but an intelligence. Okay. So if you look at here, okay, who's driving a driver? What do you call this one? Human intelligence. So what is this one? Medical diagnosis. Who is doing this? Doing this one? A doctor. What is this one? Human intelligence. Who's coding? Who's doing programming? A programmer. What is this one? Human intelligence. Correct? So basically, whatever you looked at, these are all different type of intelligence performed by a human. So by definition, what is artificial intelligence? Creating such intelligence artificially. Correct? Creating such intelligence. Correct? So what kind of intelligence we are talking about? Correct? What kind of intelligence we are talking about? Intelligence could be reading, writing, decision making, problem solving, response to a question, driving, any action you take or any task you perform. So these are all some kind of an intelligence. If that intelligence is performed by a human, it's a human intelligence. And why does it's basically called as an intelligence? These skills, knowledge, expertise you gain from a formal or an informal training. You go for a formal training or an informal training, you gain such skills. For example, if someone asks me to diagnose a patient, I cannot. Why? I never took a medical training. Correct? I'm not a doctor. So I cannot go and diagnose a disease condition. So I don't have any formal training to become a doctor. Correct? So if someone asks me to write a program, I can write. Why? I got trained. I understand this one. So through a formal or informal training, you gain knowledge, you gain skill, you gain expertise. Use this to solve problem. And that is basically what is human intelligence. That is basically what is human intelligence. Correct? So we understand what's an intelligence. We understand what's a human intelligence. Intelligence which comes out of a formal or informal training. Okay? You can go for a formal training or an informal training. So through which you gain knowledge and expertise. That's when you become human intelligence. Okay. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, an intelligence which doesn't require any formal, informal training. It happens over a maturity, correct? For example, when you see a snake, what you see, either you try to kill or you ran away, you make noise, correct? So when a baby is crying in front of you, what you do, you try to touch the baby and try to console the baby is not crying. So these are all emotions which comes out of you when you see an action, when you see something in front of you. So for that, you don't have to have a formal training, correct? So to kill a snake, I don't have to go and take a training, correct? Like, you know, it happens over a period of time when you mature. So basically what we are talking about, the intelligence or either it could be human or emotion, human or emotion. So by definition, artificial intelligence, nothing but creating such intelligence, either human intelligence, emotional intelligence artificially. So that is why it's called an alternate or a substitute replacement for human or emotional intelligence, correct? So that is what, by definition, what is artificial intelligence. So as I said, there are different definitions out there. Different people have different view, different way of representing this one. It's very simple. Okay, you have intelligence, you have human intelligence, emotional intelligence. Now the question is, how do we create this artificially? That's when artificial intelligence comes into the picture. What exactly it means to us? Either it's an alternate or a replacement or a substitute for human emotional intelligence. So what it means in the business context, correct? As I said, there is 100,000 million definition on this one. Ignore. It's absolutely crap and nonsense. It's only two form, correct? So you can apply artificial intelligence in business only in two form. Either you build an intelligent automation or a data science. And intelligent automation is nothing but an automation without a human manual intervention, such as self-driving car. Data science, it's nothing but the applying science on data. Okay, what kind of science? Correct? So if you look at the science by definition, what we are talking about, science and humanities, mathematics and statistics, such as random forest, decision tree, logistic regression, linear regression, correct? Neural net. So this kind of science you apply on data, then you become data science. It becomes data science. So why are we doing data science? Extracting hidden insights. That's one of our question, right? That's one of our question, correct? So in what form artificial intelligence applied in business, or how do we build intelligence artificially in what form? So this is basically only in two form, which is either you build an intelligent automation where an automation occurs by itself without any human, without any manual intervention. And the second, in the form of a data science. When you say data science, apply science on data, extract hidden insights. Length of stay of a patient. A patient can stay, how long can a patient can stay in a hospital? When the patient is going to be discharged? The patient is going to be discharged in next 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. So in this case, I don't have a medical doctor. The machine itself diagnoses and tells me. So this is basically extracts hidden insights from patient data. What kind of data? It could be clinical data, it could be personal demographic information, or it could be electronic medical record, or it could be fitness record, or it could be lifestyle record. So whatever behavioral record, you take all the data sets and look for insights and extract such insights applying science. Applying science. What kind of science? It could be mathematical, statistical modeling technique, correct? The data analysis technique. Use that and extract hidden insights. So that is how basically data science has been done. So by definition, when people ask, if anyone asks you, how do you apply artificial intelligence in business or industry? In two forms. Either you build an intelligent automation or data science, right? That's the key. In both the cases, self-learning is important. It learns by itself. So when you combine these two, okay, when you combine an intelligent automation, data science, it becomes a digital transformation. So the best example to understand an intelligent automation, self-driving autonomous car, right? A car drives by itself. So instead of a driver, the car functions by itself. There's no human. So the car understands when it sees a red light, it stops. When it sees a green light, it goes. When it sees a yellow light, it slows down. Okay? How does that possible? There's no manual instruction. It's automatically instruction driven. Okay? So that is basically the model instructs how the car to be performed, how the car to be performed. Such automation, it's called an intelligent automation. So this falls under an industrial revolution, building industrial equipment using data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these things. Right? So point one, when we say intelligent automation, the best way to understand what it is, you could imagine the self-driving autonomous car, it's an intelligent automation. One, it doesn't have a human. Second, it don't have any manual instruction. It functions by itself using these techniques. Correct? The second example, data science. What is data science? As we talked about, extracting hidden insights. What kind of insights I'm extracting? Take an example of a patient. In a patient perspective, I want to find out how long the patient can stay in a hospital. No physician required, no doctor required. The front, the clinical coordinator or the hospital front desk people can run the model and see what the length of stay is going to look like, when the patient is going to be discharged, when the patient is going to be readmitted, what is the behavior of this patient. So these are all you can extract from data of a patient. These are all hidden insights. Such insights are extracted applying science. So this is another example of data science. Okay, what's a digital transformation? I'm sure you all heard about Uber, DoorDash. It works end-to-end without any human manual intervention. Information goes anywhere to anywhere. Correct? Example, I'm in Sacramento, California. I want to book a taxi for my friend in New York. Can I? Yes, I can. All I have to do, pick up location, drop up location. It automatically figures out the remaining part. What it figures out? The geography, the time zone, the currency, and distance, and also calculates the pair, and also it tells you how much time it's going to take. In case there is any traffic, it does the forecast. Correct? So all the things are works without any human manual intervention. Such type of transactions are digitally working. It's a digital transformation. So these are the things what you do. So let's summarize this one. So using artificial intelligence, what we can do, we can implement intelligent automation, data science. By combining these two, you form a digital transformation. So our focus of this course will cover all with a strong emphasis on data science, correct? With a strong emphasis on data science. So data science is our primary focus, but at the same time, I touch all these different things, correct? So you do have to understand in a bigger picture, correct? So that's important. Let's connect the dots, okay? So how does it work in a nutshell? Okay, how does it work in a nutshell? So we understand at a highest level, what is artificial intelligence? It is creating intelligence, whatever a human does, whatever a human does. So those intelligence we want to create artificially. In what form we can create this in a business? In what form we can deliver this in business? In what form it applied in business? So only two forms, either an intelligent automation or a data science. All right, when you're combining these two, I form a digital transformation. How do we achieve all these things? That is what machine learning does, okay? Using machine learning, you can achieve this one. So what exactly that means? Don't teach a human. By teaching a human, the human become an intelligence. Instead of teaching a human, you teach a machine. The machine learns and become a intelligence, machine intelligence. So that is basically the idea behind why people want to go for machine learning. Let's dive deep, correct? So how do we teach a machine, train a machine? Okay, how do we teach a machine? You first train the machine. How do we train the machine? Apply 5 different machine learning techniques. What those 5 machine learning techniques are: natural language processing, computer vision, robotic process automation, deep learning, supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning. So these are all different type of machine learning technique, like how you teach your son or daughter, or father or mother or brother or friend. So the same way you can teach a machine. When you teach a machine, there are machine learning techniques. Such techniques what we are talking about. Each one have its own behavior, its own characteristics. Example, robotic process automation. Okay, so there are so many companies out there, such as UiPath, Blue Prism, Current, Automation Anywhere. All these companies are out there. Is these companies are artificial intelligence? Answer is no. It's instruction driven. They hard code instruction. But in this case, in all 5 cases, this is not a hard coded instruction. It has a self-learning models. The machine learns the model. So objectives what? Create intelligent artificially. How do we create intelligent artificially? Teach the machine. How do we teach the machine? Train the machine. How do we train the machine? Apply this 5 machine learning technique, okay? Which is fundamentally most important. So if you want to be a data scientist, if you want to be a data engineer, if you want to look for an employment opportunity, it is absolutely essential for you to understand how these are all working, correct? As I told you, under robotic process automation, the machine learns about a process, okay? Business processes, not only business processes, any processes. But companies out there, they say that it's a robotic process automation. There's a clear difference. Okay, a self-learning robotic process is different than hard-coded instruction is different. Most of the company that I am aware of, it's a hard-coded instruction. That is not self-learning. That's not artificially created intelligence. Second, natural language processing. You teach the machine how a human being speak and write. Correct? I'm a human. I can read and speak and write. So if the same thing I ask the machine to do, then I have to train the machine in language. That's natural language processing. Under natural language processing, the machine learns and understands language modeling, sentence modeling, words classification, etc. The next point, computer vision. what a vision does. I can see in front of me there is an animal. I can see in front of me there is a dog. I can see in front of me there is a man who's standing. Right? So that's my vision. Similarly, if we expect a machine to learn and understand an object, image, video, then that falls under computer vision. Under computer vision, the machine learns about images, videos, voice, and etc. Correct? So deep learning and other models. Correct? So if you have a hypothesis, correct, to solve a problem, and the problem is simple enough, and it is not very data intense. In that case, you can use any of these models, like supervised, unsupervised reinforcement, correct? So there, any common problem solving approach, if you don't have too much data, if you don't have any common, if you don't have any complexity in terms of developing a hypothesis, solving this one, correct? I know how to solve this problem. I have a hypothesis, correct? Then I can use this, solve this problem. Under such situations, you could apply these kind of models, correct? Either supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement. Again, each one will have its own. We will cover all these things in the course. Let's say I don't have a hypothesis. I don't have any hypothesis to solve this problem, correct? Hypothesis is nothing but what are the steps I have to take to solve this problem. I have no idea, correct? I have no idea. I expect the machine to develop the hypothesis and solve this problem. Under such situation, I will go for deep learning. So point is, if you want to create intelligent artificially, which is delivered in the form of data science, then what does that mean? The underlying instruction, correct? The underlying instruction, basically not a human written code. It's going to be a machine developed algorithm. How do you teach a machine to develop algorithm? And these are the 5 different machine learning algorithms that we are talking about, correct? All right. So the further details about this, we can talk in the session. Okay. All right. So now, whatever I said, I just kind of summarized here. Okay. So now let's understand a little bit. What is the skill that needed to become a subject matter expert, correct? I'm not saying that from day one you will become a data scientist or an applied machine learning engineer, data engineer, advanced computing professional, but what it takes to become someone like this, correct? So in my view, based on real world industry experience, as I said, I'm not an abstract guy. There are so many people out there just write absolute abstract. They never done any work, correct? But they imagine and write about it. I'm not imagining writing about it. I'm talking about real practical issues. When you go on a customer, when you go on enterprise, when you go on a business problem, what is a skill they're expecting you to know? So these are the 4 skills absolutely must required. In our program, we are going to cover all of those, correct? Our program very specially designed, and it is something that very unique, its value proposition, correct? Which I am confident there is no other program out there who can do at this level. So we cover business side, okay? That's the fundamental. Then we take it to the journey of data engineering. So under data engineering, we talk about big data and IoT, cover them at a great extent. And then getting into modeling. So all relevant technology is going to come underneath, correct? Then the modeling side is going to be starting from understanding the problem statement, selecting model, building model pipeline, and then also all the way down to model validation, model deployment, everything will be covered. Then computing technologies, correct? So how do we write an advanced coding programming, correct? So that is also part of this one. And at some extent, we also going to cover in microservices and also work on serverless computing, correct? So these are all available. So all this topic that what I'm listing here, it's going to be covered. And this is what really required to become anyone of this role, okay? If you want to be a data scientist, okay? At the end of the day, see, listen, very simple. It's not just you're coming and learning for fun, correct? You have to find something. The something could be either a new career opportunity or an advancement and enhancement of your existing career, or I want to start my own business, correct? It could be something else, correct? So you don't really have too much time to sit down and just learn these kind of concepts for months, correct? There must be some goals for you. There must be something that you want to achieve. If the goals and objective is to achieve either career advancement, or career enhancement, or to become a successful entrepreneur, or it doesn't matter, I want to be a subject matter resource, correct? Whether I work or not, that's later. Under the context, what skills are expected? In my view, this is absolutely must. If you don't have these skills, you will be 10 among 1. Correct? You can talk about it, but I don't know where you have confidence to handle a business situation. Correct? When you go to this, there are so many people writing there. Correct? They say, I'm VP, I'm director, I do this and nonsense. Correct? Put them in front of a customer. Put them in front of a layman customer. Ask them if they can handle the customer questions. Correct? That is impossible. Why? That's because the skills that is expected, it's different than what they know. And in a real world, these are the skills required, okay? So by having the skills, what kind of jobs you could expect? You could expect either you become depends on your comfort level, depends on your ability, many other factors. Either you could become a data scientist or a data engineer or model engineer, model developer or architect, project manager. Sky is the limit. Okay, there's nothing stops us to go anything beyond this one. So these are all more of an employment opportunity based on what the actual outcome which comes out of the program. So our program designed to in such a way you will get to learn all the skills. By having all the skills in depth, you will become any one of these kind of roles in the future. Okay, any one of these roles in the future. And this is just to give you an idea. I talked about the complex landscape, how you learn, do things. So these are all some of the lab infrastructure that we will get involved. Correct? We will get involved. I'm not saying this is going to be from day one. So at the end of the course, you will get to learn all these complex technologies. Correct? When you go in a real world, okay, building data science involves many different things. Correct? So it's going to touch all the different moving parts. And this is just a high level flow how it works. Correct? And this is the real world example that I was talking about. In a commercial real world, how much amount of data has been involved as a data scientist, correct? So if you say I'm a data scientist, correct? This is one of the data sets that we use for a telecom company, correct? So this is talks about in a telecom company, how do you basically do data science? What kind of data involved, correct? So these are the different type of data that's involved. So I'm sure you will get to learn more about when we move along in the program, correct? All right. So this is just to give you an overview how in-depth our program and how it's going to be, right? So just wanted to give you an idea. So our program is just not like other program out there. It goes beyond what someone think about it, right? All right. So I talked about the real world industry use cases. These are the use cases that you will get to learn and understand. As I said, these use cases already have a predefined problem statement and data sets, a trained model, pipeline, data model pipeline, data pipeline. So in some extent, we also have the source code, okay? So you will get exposure to all these things, you will understand. For example, I talked about length of stay, that is this guy. Readmission rate, it's here. Discharge rate, it's here. And then risk of the patient, it's here, correct? So like this, there's a lot of different use cases. How do we monitor patient, correct? I'm not looking for an insights, but I want to build in a control system which allows the patient to be monitored anywhere in the world. Using IoT, I can connect to the device and get to know the condition of the patient remotely, fitness monitoring, health monitoring, etc. Okay, so these are some of the use cases that we have for retail and consumer business. Example, the most common one, correct? Most of the retail companies are using something like customer sentiment, customer churn, segmentation, brand, location, inventory, correct? So these are all some of the analytics that for retail and consumer base that we have built, and you part of this program, you will get to learn these use cases. So we also try to give you the problem statement, data sets, pre-trained model, and model pipeline, data pipeline, everything you get to see. Okay, all right. And some of the use case for oil and gas. Correct? So these are the use cases for the oil and gas industry. So based on your industry experience and things that what you want to do, for example, production forecasting. An oil well is producing an oil due to earth movement. The earth is moving. So because the earth movement, the oil well hole is blocked. Since it's blocked, what happens? Now the production rate of the oil is going down. Since the oil rate is going down, I wanted to know, how do we prevent this one? I don't want to drill this one. I don't want to waste my money this one. So how do we prevent this one? So that's basically production forecasting, decline curve analysis, correct? So these kind of subjects, use cases, I can bet, okay? Even if you Google, you don't find these things, correct? So I can also tell you, you can look at other programs out there who's offering these kind of programs, compare them. Can I come back them? Ask the instructor. Can the instructor can tell you about all these use cases? I would be surprised. Can? So these are all real use cases, something that we worked in industry. We are bringing to for a student to learn, get to know, understand. So what exactly this means to you? It positions you well to find a job very quickly from employment perspective. And this is what companies are looking for. To the interview process, if you talk to them some of the use case that what you have done, that's going to definitely advance you in your interview process. People know, correct? Like, when you talk about real world use cases, how much time it takes to build this one, even for understanding, correct? So they will appreciate that. All right. Similarly, we have for energy. So in the entire program, I will be covering some of this, not all of the use cases, some of the use cases from 2 or 3 industries, can, and depends on you, how much interest you have. You also can pick and choose use cases, anything that's required for that. we will support you. If you need a problem statement, we'll give you. If you need a data sets, we'll give you. If you need a model to be trained, model to be given to you, we'll give it to us. And if you need help to build the model pipeline, data pipeline, we'll do that too. Okay? So all these use cases are readily available so that we can use these use cases and build them. All right. So the last topic in my agenda that I want to talk to you, okay, before you open for question and answer. So what are the technologies that part of this program we are going to learn? Okay? So these are the technologies. Okay? I will cover in great extent why do we need to understand enterprise systems. Okay? As we talked very clearly, our program focuses on solving the industry problem, solving business problem. To solve business problem, you do have to understand the technology behind what business is using. So in most cases, if you go any country, any enterprises, okay, either they use SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. Okay, so you do have to understand. Let's assume I'm doing a financial model. Okay, I'm doing a financial model for a company like Procter and Gamble. So what is that kind of company it is? It's a CPG, consumer packaged goods company. So what kind of financial model I'm trying to build? So margin analysis. What is margin analysis? The margin analysis is nothing but in order for me to sell this product, correct? To make this much margin, how much unit I have to sell and what is would be the unit cost. I have to predict that. So how do we predict this one? Build a predictive model which gives you an optimal margin to sell a product on at a specific cost in a location. Okay? So to do that, I have to understand how does the company is managing their current, financials, what kind of systems and technology they're using. Under that context, I do have to understand the enterprise systems. That's a business process and enterprise system. So I cover all of those in my discussions, in my session. Second, data engineering. As I told you, no matter whatever you say, correct? I know everything, correct? Doesn't matter. Data plays very key role. Okay, data plays very key role. So you may be too good in modeling. If you don't understand data structure, then it has no value. Now data become quite complex and intense. Example, the same token that what I was talking about, Procter and Gamble asking us to build a customer sentiment. The customer sentiment comes from many different sources. What kind of sources it comes from? Customer sentiment could be coming from a customer feedback, or a customer phone call. Customer phone call is a voice, or customer posting in a YouTube video, or customer posting some kind of an images. It could be any form. How do you take all of those and connect as a one single training data for a customer in the model data pre-processing? That is not a joke. Correct? It is not loading an Excel spreadsheet and running a model. Correct? I have YouTube video, I have customer voice, I have a customer image, I have customer feedback in the form of a written statement, and I also have customer demographic. How do I combine and construct a single training data? I would bet you ask all the company who out there teaching data science, ask them one single question: how do you create such training data? Okay, no one have an answer, which we are having an answer here. Correct? So we are going to focus on bringing such complex processes in learning. Correct? So take one or two complex data sets and combine them, construct a single training data using Python, using other technology like Kafka, using other technology like Spark. So you do have to understand how to work on all these technologies. And of course, the next one is data science. Correct? So when it comes to data science, what are the different technologies? So we could be using models from TensorFlow extension, all these different technologies. Correct? And then cloud, I'm going to touch about AWS. Correct? So this is the high-level technology that we are going to cover in the training program. Correct? During this course of 5 months. Correct? So you will get to learn all of those things. Correct? So there is no reason for you to go out and learn any other extra skills. If you follow this one, I'm sure you will well equipped to go and look for an employment opportunity immediately. Okay. All right. So I talked about this topic already: data science, employment, and entrepreneurship. Okay. Nothing easy. Okay. If it is easy, we all will be very successful. Okay? And we all will be doing what we want to do. So everything takes a lot of time. Everything takes a lot of hard work, commitment, and passion. Correct? So if you have all, sky is the limit. Correct? Sky is the limit. Correct? There's more potential. As I said, there's so much talk out there, but nothing has been proven yet at this point. Correct? So I don't want to name the companies. There are so many companies says that we have this, we have that, we do this, we do that. But if you go very close, there's nothing out there. They're all experimental. They're all scratching the surface. So you are at the right time. You are at the right time, correct? So the world is leading towards creating all intelligence, okay? All intelligence, such as anything a human does, whether it could be emotional or non-emotional intelligence. It's all going to be artificially created. In the artificially creation world, data science plays a very dominant role, okay? As I said, data science is basically the first attempt to extract hidden insights on the data before you do anything, correct? So in that context, so sky is the limit. There is so much opportunity out there, but we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for that? Did we prepare well enough, correct? And that is basically my pointers, correct? Simply going out and saying, I know this different, I'm hands-on, I learned on the job experience, I have enough tools, I have enough technology, I understand business, I understand data, that makes you very highly valuable, okay? So at that stage, I don't see why someone is not going to hire you, okay? At this stage, if you want to start a business, why it's going to fail, okay? So this course well structured to make you as a highly employable resource and also find something, your passion, your interest, and build on top of it, okay? So that is how the program is structured, and I will ensure, okay, you get full support from us in case if there's anything that you want to do, okay? Awesome. So with that said, I'm going to open for Q&A. So if we have any questions, please feel free to post those questions. What is the fifth skill? That's Peter. I'm not sure what is the fifth skill is. If I mention anything, I'm not sure. In my view, based on all the projects that I've done so far, those are the main skills that I'm involved. The number one, business skills. Without understanding business, this is not an area, okay, where someone can go and do just like that. This is not writing simple Python program, Java program, or any technical implementation, correct? It's not a system admin job. You have to interact with business. There's a deep knowledge is expired, and that knowledge is what business required, correct? So second, data. Third, computing, correct? And then the other one is basically like, the modeling side of it. Is there any work that combines marketing with the data science? Answer is yes, correct? There is so much we could talk about it in terms of like, how we can apply data science and marketing. I have done myself for this one. As I said, the retail company that I'm currently involved, it's one of the work is on marketing side. So for example, the company gets so much of lead, which one to focus, correct? Profiling the leads and recommendation. Okay, this is what you have to go after, and this is the recommended approach. Correct? So that's one of my current projects that I'm working. Will the course be structured in sequential from, or you can take the courses out of order? It's going to be more of in a sequence, but we can see how best we can help you in case if you want to take in a different order. So we can support you, but it's going to be structured, followed in a very sequential, structured, methodical way. All right, any other questions? So we have time to ask questions. Do you have any questions?
Hi, Jothi, I actually have a couple that we got through registration.
Sure.
So one question here is, when a person is transitioning into data science from another field, how do they get noticed and called?
So it's a very good question, actually. So if I were you, what I will do, I will write article. I will publish article, correct? So that is basically, it doesn't matter what kind of article you write. People will get noticed you, correct? So let's say you are going to write in a model which is going to predict something or which is going to do something. Let's assume you are writing you are trying to build a model which is going to basically like, help the patient to understand their medication better, correct? So what medication works better, what medication doesn't work on a given clinical condition. So you are writing an article which is going to describe about this one. So if you publish an article, I'm sure that will people get to know. So that is one way to do it, actually. The second one is like, there are so many events out there, correct? You can volunteer yourself and you go and speak and go and talk about it. So that is another way to do. So I think the best way is basically write an article. I am positive that will take you wherever you want it to, if the article speaks well. So in a way you gain confidence, in a way people get to know you. In your resume, you can add them as a references. And also you can add the references, the project that what you're doing in the course. The course has a project, correct? You have 2 projects minimum, then we can, based on your interest, based on your time, we can do more projects. And these projects also you could publish. I've done this project part of the UC and Udacity. So that will also gives a lot of more visibility for you. So that is how I would approach for people who don't have an industry experience, who's coming to this field. How do we transition into this field? And these are the way to get yourself exposed to this field. Will all sessions be live or instructor-led? It's all sessions are instructor-led, and it is going to be live. Could you please suggest a few recommendation algorithms? Answers yes. So I would say that's part of our program. So any algorithm that you think that you wanted to talk to us, we can definitely work with you. There are a set of algorithms that we have. As I said, we are going to focus on industry, from industry point of view, health, retail, oil and gas, energy. In this industry, we use a lot of algorithms. We are going to use those algorithms. So those algorithms are basically like, third part of the curriculum. You'll get to learn them actually. Any other questions? What is your advice for someone who's changing career, coming to AI data science career from different career with years of experience, within years of experience, correct? This is a good question, correct? So what we have to do, we have to find the right fit. For example, you're currently a project manager, correct? So right now, data science or artificial intelligence kind of projects may not be high, but in the future, correct, in the future, there will be more projects. Take an example, okay? Take an example of cell phone. 10 years before, how many cell phones we had? If you take 100 people, maybe out of 100, 10 people may have a cell phone. So now everybody have 3 cell phone, 4 cell phone. Like this, the field of artificial intelligence, data science, it didn't came at mainstream. It will come mainstream. When it comes mainstream, you will have more roles, more responsibilities. So that time, if you are already a project manager, moving into a project manager who can manage AI projects, who can manage AI solutions, AI product would be an ideal fit. Let's say I'm a DBA, I'm a database administrator. I've been heavily involved in data. So moving into data engineering would be an ideal option. Data engineering, don't think you are going to just work on ETL tools. No, you use programming constructs, correct? As I said, you have data sitting in YouTube and you have data sitting in a different format. How do you bring them together, correct? So that is basically an engineering discipline on data. So if you are a DBA, if you are already working in the field of data, it makes sense for you to move to data engineer. So based on your current role and year of experience, we can map this one and we can choose the right career path. So definitely the program has a room for us to help you to come up with your future career track and preparing you towards that, including helping you to build your resume, build your any other skill metrics that you need to attract recruiters. So we'll provide all of those. Any other questions? No questions?
Doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in. We're almost right at time anyways. We are ending at 3 o'clock today. Jothi, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much for coming in and explaining the instructor-led session and talking about data scientists. And it's been very informative. I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure, absolutely, Grant. So I'm on LinkedIn. If your audience have any questions, it's not just only this webinar. So we are here to support you. Whatever help you need from UC or myself, please feel free to reach out to us, either LinkedIn or social media, whatever way you want to reach out to us. We are here to help you out. Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate your time. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.